Today we're going to learn how to do this masking text reveal animation. This is going to be a two-part animation tutorial where the first tutorial is going to be more about how to do the animation in the text reveal with the mask. And the second part of this tutorial is going to be more advanced. It's going to be more about how to generate a 3D mesh with ZoeDepth and then be able to get that and plug it into After Effects to be able to work with it and use it in a 3D scene. If you're confident you know how to do this type of text animation, this tutorial is perfect for you. If you are learning how to also do the text animation portion of this 3D text animation, feel free to click right here on screen, which will bring you back to the first video so you can learn how to do that text animation. And then after completing that, you can join us back over here on video 2, so that way you can start incorporating it into a 3D scene. But starting off from where we were at last time, we have this simple text reveal animation that wipes on and off of screen. What we can do is we can add our glow onto our text so that way it emits some light for us to be able to then throw around our 3D mesh. You just search up glow in your effects preset, and you can throw your glow onto one of these layers. I use two glows. One glow is much closer to the text itself. That's a much more intense glow. And then I duplicated and threw a second glow that spreads a little bit further but is much softer and less intense. So now that we have all of our glows applied to our text here, what we can do is we can come over here, we can select all of them, hit Control D to duplicate them. And then I'm going to pull them up top here to sit on top of them. And then what we can do is we can add our Gaussian blur. If you just type in here Gaussian blur, we can pull this on over onto one of our layers. I'm going to set it to 200, and then I'm going to copy this Gaussian blur and apply it to both of these layers. And then what we can do is we can select all of our duplicates with the number 2 next to it. Right click, pre-compose. I'm going to label this cast, hit OK, and then we will turn this into a 3D layer. We will rotate it on the X by 92, and then we are going to grab this handle and we are going to drop it like so below our actual text. And if we move through this, we can see that we have the animation playing on the bottom as well as the top. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go back inside of our cast here, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our mask line, we're going to hit enter on it so that way we can rename it, and we're going to label it temp. We're going to come up here, we are going to grab our ellipse tool, and where our shape is, we are going to make a circle that looks somewhat like this. We want it to be more of an oval here. Thinking it as this is going to be in a 3D scene on the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the effects controls. I am going to copy all of the effects, and I'm going to paste it onto our shape, and I'm going to enter, and I'm going to do line cast. We're going to hit again Control Alt Home to make the anchor point go to the center of it, and then we are going to hit U on our keyboard. And actually, now that I'm looking, we have to position this to where it would start. So if I highlight this, I know we got to bring it over to here. And then what we're gonna do is we are going to copy all of the keyframes from our temp. We are going to paste it like so, and then we are going to hide the temp layer, and this should essentially end up looking like the glow is on the ground. So now that we have that, the majority of setting up this animation is pretty much done. Now it's the fun part of creating a 3D mesh. So what we're going to use is a website called ZoeDepth. I've left the link below. So all you do is you come over here, you click image to 3D, and then you drag and drop your image into here. So I am going to grab this image and I'm just gonna drag and drop it into here. And then I'm going to check this box off called keep occlusion edges, and then I hit submit. Things to note about this button is if you don't press this button, it's very likely that you're going to have some holes inside of your mesh, and by clicking this button, it seems to repair a lot of those holes in the mesh. But again, things to note about the type of image that you do bring in here. If you're bringing in a really complex image with a lot of different depths to it, it's probably not going to do it 100% correctly every time. I tried using a image of a walkway that had trees on it, and it was just kind of honestly a nightmare. So I ended up picking a more simple thing, and that seems to pretty much do the trick. But if we come over here, we can kind of zoom in and out of our hallway, and we can see the depth map and mesh that has been generated for our hallway. Now what we can do is we can click this little download button over here, and it is going to download a GLB file. Go locate that file, save it in the same place as your project, and then I'll meet you back over in After Effects. Okay, so now that we're back in After Effects, go ahead and just drag and drop that file on into After Effects. What we can do is we can hit enter here, and I'm just going to call this 3D map. And then we can click and drag this onto a new composition, and everything right here is good, and we can hit OK. For some reason, when we import this, we have to rotate it 180 degrees on the Y here. From there, what we can do is we can click away, we can right click, new, add camera, and then my best advice here is to try to set the preset to the focal length and camera settings that you might know or might not know. I'm assuming a lot of us are getting images off of stock sites and stuff like that, so just try to do your best guess. My guess is 35 millimeters, and then I'm gonna hit OK. And if I hit P on my keyboard here for the camera position, I can start pulling the camera into the image. But what you'll notice really quickly is if you go too far, it goes completely black, and all you have to do is come over to your point of interest, and this last number here, we just want to throw this number pretty far back so you can start to see we can move into our 3D world, and it will eventually end up clipping into it. So just throw this number as far back as you would like, and this should hopefully allow you to get as far as you need to go. Nonetheless, it's a really quick, easy way to get a 3D mesh inside of After Effects like this. Another thing to note about ZoeDepth, and I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the type of file that this is, but I instantly noticed that it's undersaturated. It almost looks like log footage. So just one little helpful tip that I did, I added a adjustment layer down here, where I then just had it over top of the 3D map, or the 3D mesh, and I applied a curves effect and a hue saturation. And this is honestly just kind of, color managing the image back to what you want it to look like. So this is totally up to you at this point on how you want to bring that saturation back. But now that we have our 3D camera and we can move through our mesh, we are going to go ahead and we are going to close up all of these panels. And then what we can do is we can come over to here, and I'm going to pre-comp what is left over here, and I will call this text animation. And I'm going to go back over to the 3D map, go to my project, and I'm going to grab the cast and the text animation, and I'm going to pull this in, and I'm going to put it right on top of all of our layers here. And then I'm going to move the playhead out a little bit so that way we can see the animation itself. What we're going to do is we're going to, while having them still highlighted, we are going to turn them into 3D layers, and they will disappear for just a second here. We will come over to our second view so we can view them. For some reason, the origin point, I don't know if this has to do with how we rotated things. I don't believe so, but I'm not really sure. The world sits off of the comp here in 3D space. So what we have to do is we just have to come over here. I'm in the top view, in my second view, and we are just going to walk this text animation back on over to here. And because our cast layer is sitting in the middle of our text right here, I'm going to go to the front view, and I am going to grab this right here, and I'm going to lower this down onto the ground-ish. And now I'm going to come back over here and go back to our top view, and this is kind of where we get into some integration hell. This is all about lining up perspectives and trying to get our 3D layers to kind of stick to where they should parallax-wise in 3D space and position them properly. Something to note right here is if we look at this box as our entire hallway right here, and this is our text layer, the text layer currently visually in the camera looks really close up in front of the camera, and over here on this view we can see it's towards the back half of the hallway. So what we can kind of consider here, because things aren't clipping into the wall, what we can do is we are going to do a combination of position changes, scale changes, and we're going to try to get this text to sit where it should be, at the right size that it should be, so that way things are interacting with the mesh properly. This part is kind of a little finicky, I won't lie. If anyone out there has any good tips for stuff like this, I find this is a part of most projects where things can get pretty frustrating. But for starters, I'm going to grab both of these, and I'm going to hit S on the keyboard, and I'm going to pay attention to the right side of my monitor here. And I'm going to scale this down so that way it fits within our box. And then I'm going to hit P on our keyboard, and I'm going to bring this position back towards the camera, right about here, somewhere about there. And I do believe that is sitting pretty well, good enough for this tutorial. I did go a little bit harder in the example video and animation that I showed at the beginning of this tutorial. But yeah, perspectives are kind of difficult, and just try your best and try to get it to sit where you want. But now that we're looking, we can kind of tell that our cast shadow isn't really interacting with the mesh the way we want it to. It's way too hot. We definitely don't need our text on the bottom here to be as strong. So one of the things that I struggled with when doing this animation to start with was I was trying to get a blending mode to work, and I couldn't figure it out. So what I ended up figuring out is that if you use a white solid, if we come here and hit solid, get a white solid, hit OK on it, bring this white solid up to the top here, and then if we come down here and change its track matte to the cast, and then change the solid to overlay, we get a much more soft glow that really interacts with the ground now, and it just looks overall so much better. And as far as compositing this in, this animation is pretty much done. The next part that really comes into it is animating the camera, and rather than animating the camera again, I'm going to go show you what I did in the example. Okay, so now that we're over here in this project where I made the original animation here, simply all you have to do is animate the point of interest, position, and orientation to achieve these camera movements. And as far as pacing goes, I just basically did a camera movement for every single reveal With that being said, that is the end of this two-part animation. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something, whether it was in the first episode learning how to make the actual animation, or if it was in this episode where we learned how to make the 3D mesh. And additionally, if you have any problems with this tutorial or anything where you had any hiccups, feel free to leave comments below. I will definitely answer and try to fill in any gaps maybe that I mistakenly hopped over in this tutorial. As well, feel free to leave any suggestions for future tutorials. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.